So, hello, everybody, and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Here, back here, BSN Network. This is BSN Network Podcast here today. It is Monday, August 30th here today. Hopefully everybody's having a day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Monday, August 30th here today, coming off of another big weekend in sports. Big baseball weekend over the weekend as the Yankees and Mets both played. Also some more football. The New York Jets and New York Giants wrapped up their preseasons last night. The Giants did. Jets wrapped up theirs on Friday night, and both were good games. Jets was a wild one. James Morgan throwing the Hail Mary touchdown, but that's not the point. That's not what we were worried about. We're now worried about the regular season in the NFL, and that's the big. That's what's coming up here. 2 weeks until the NFL season. So, yesterday was 2 weeks, so we're 11 days from football exactly. 11 days from the Buccaneers and Cowboys kicking off the NFL season, and it's pretty crazy I'm saying it. I mean, you go all off season of, this and that, and, talking about rosters and OTAs and all that's training camp, and, I always say this, you first start off in the offseason, if you're looking forward to football, you get free agency. That's like the first step. Free agency is like the first step in big direction. You start to assemble your roster. You get those guys. You finally get to be like, all right, we get what we're working with here. And then the draft comes around, and that's another huge step in the right direction. You're like, okay, the draft's done. Then rookie OTA start, and you're like, that's a step. That's a big step. And then, mini camp starts, and that's a big step. OTAs, mandatory, all that stuff. And then training camp starts, and that's like the huge, that's like the one that says, okay, we're almost here. And now it's practice. Next week is considered game week, considered a practice week for all the NFL teams. And that's great. That's awesome. So NFL is almost here. Just 2 weeks yesterday, so we're now 13 days away from the first Sunday in the NFL season. So that's great. Jets, like I said, Jets and Giants played. NFL preseason's done. By the way, we'll get to baseball here. Yankees lost, so that's tough. We lose 2 games over the weekend. I'm not going to sit here and overreact. I'm not going to sit here and be all angry. We lost 2 games. It's tough. It stinks, I know. But I'm not going to sit here and say, back to plan B or back to, the drawing board. No, it's 2 games in a row, okay? We just got off of winning 13 in a row. You're not going to be able to win every game. And that's been one thing I've been wanting to see how Yankee fans react. And a lot of them's reacted the way I expected them to. When you go on a 13-game win streak, it's great. It's awesome. But yeah, as a fan, you kind of forget what it's like to lose. And I don't mean that in a cocky way. I truly mean it. It's like any team. When you go on a 13-game win streak and the team's just on a high and every game's a win, 13 straight wins, you can forget how it feels to lose 2 in a row. So Yankees have lost 2 in a row. And sure, you go in there, you win the first 2 games Thursday, Friday. You just need to win 1 more to get the series win, and you're not able to get the job done. I get that. But today you got a game against the Angels. Kluber back on the mound. You got 3 against the Angels. Then you have a day off on Thursday, and you got the Orioles. So things are still looking very up for the New York Yankees. No need to stretch out. Mets got all the things going on. They won yesterday, but they got some crazy things going on there. They got celebrations now, and then, that Sandy Alderson's not happy about. It's geared towards the fans. It's like, what is going on with the New York Mets? I was talking to someone yesterday about it. Even when the Mets do something right, win a game, play well. They did. They got hits. They did well. It was against the Nationals, though, but they win a game. Anytime they do that, even when they do that, it's there's always something wrong with this team. It's like this team the Mets just they can't do anything right. It really is crazy. So, Yankees, Mets, both play today, I believe. I believe both of them play today. Yankees are on today against the Angels, and the Mets actually have a day off, so I apologize for that. Yankees today against the Angels. Mets have a day off before they head to play, or not head out. They'll play the Marlins at home. They'll start up a series against them. And this is, like I said, an opportunity for the Mets to start to win some more games. So, Corey Kluber on the mound tonight for the Yankees. Mets day off. They await Miami Marlins tomorrow. And, that's what's on tap for today in baseball. All right, let's get to the topics for today's podcast. 2 football topics again. As I mentioned, football season's getting closer. There's a lot of news, a lot of stuff to get to. But let's get to this first topic here. The New York Jets have actually made a trade. Yes, you have heard that right. I would not have expected this. I would never have predicted this. The New York Jets have made a trade to go out and get Shaq Lawson from the Houston Texans, an edge rusher, for a 2022 6th-round pick. So the New York Jets give up a 6th-round pick. They get Shaq Lawson, edge rusher, from the Houston Texans in return. And this is definitely a depth move. This is a move to give us depth. This is a move to give us some, much needed, edge rusher talent and some more, edge rusher guys in that room. With Carl Lawson going down, we needed somebody else. And, Bryce Huff, Ronnie Blair, you had all those different guys. It just wasn't, you just didn't know if it was going to work. It was so risky to just go out and say, let's go with the young guys and stuff. And I said that I didn't want to strike a massive trade. Well, this isn't a massive trade. This is a small trade. It's a depth addition. I actually like it. I'm not going to sit here and overreact. I like Shaq Lawson a lot coming out of college. He went to Clemson, played in big games, had big moments, had some big plays. I like that a lot about him. He's never really lived up to expectations as the first-round pick in the NFL, got drafted by the Bills, had moments there, wasn't great, then went to the Dolphins, had moments, he had a good season, wasn't great, Texans, now the Jets. And, nothing is, he hasn't done anything crazy in his career. He was very good in college, but if we could just get a guy that's going to give us solid depth and give us a guy that's going to give us solid play, that's all we're asking for out of Shaq Lawson. So we lose a Lawson and we gain a Lawson. We lost Carl Lawson to a torn Achilles and we gain Shaq Lawson. So kind of funny there. The next topic here is J.K. Dobbins tears his ACL. So another devastating injury, not just for the Ravens, but for the NFL in general. I mean, you're talking about a guy in J.K. Dobbins that was just like, this was a guy coming into this year with a high expectations, a lot of, exciting things ahead, and, he's done for the year, tears his ACL. So he is done for the season. I'll get to that, how it impacts the Ravens, and where do they go from here? Because Dobbins is their best running back. He was their starter. Where do they go from here? We'll get to Dobbins and the Ravens. There's been so many injuries this year. It's crazy. Every year it's like this. Every year it's injury after injury after injury after injury. And then we'll get to the New York sports update. Yankees today against the Angels and Mets against the Marlins. That will start tomorrow. And preseason's done. Like I said, preseason's over. No football next week in the NFL. It's going to feel weird because there's been football on the past 3 weeks, but no football on next week in the NFL. Then you get Thursday, Buccaneers, Cowboys, and then you get the first Sunday in the NFL. So, really exciting. And college football also was on this weekend. It was great to see college football back. With Nebraska, Illinois was on. That was the big game. That was the big game of the weekend, was Nebraska, Illinois. There were some other smaller games on, but that was the big game this weekend, or over the past weekend. I watched it. It was a great game. It was actually a really good game. That was the big game this weekend that everyone was talking about. Nothing against the other games, but that, Fox, nationally televised, that was the big game. Now, this upcoming weekend's really a week 1 in NFL. That was week 0. This is officially now week 1 in college coming up this week. You got the rest of the Big Ten, ACC, SEC, big name schools, Alabama, Miami, Penn State, Clemson, Oregon. All those teams play this weekend. So really, college football gets going this weekend. But it was great to have a couple games on over the weekend. You had UCLA, Illinois, Nebraska, a couple big name schools over the weekend. There was more small name schools, but a couple big ones. So that was good to see. But yeah, that's what I got for the intro here. And with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and let's get into it. So Shaq Lawson reportedly traded to Jets from Texans for 2022 sixth round NFL draft pick. So yes, you have heard that right. The New York Jets have officially made a move. All these, past couple weeks here talking about, are they going to go out and make a trade? Are they going to sign somebody? Are they going to, stay put? Are they going to trust what they got in that room? What are they going to do? Well, we have gotten that answer, and that answer got solved yesterday as the New York Jets go out and trade for Shaq Lawson for a 2022 sixth round pick. Now, I've said this all along. I said it the day I talked about Carl Lawson tearing his Achilles. Okay, you're not going to probably get somebody that's going to replace Carl Lawson. What Carl Lawson was expected to do and what we all expected him to do this season is something that won't be replaced by many. And we were expecting him to turn into one of the top edge rushers in the NFL, one of the elite pass rushers in the league. There's not many you can consider elite. There's not many ones you can consider in the top 10, top 5. So to get someone that's going to replace him and do exactly what he does probably is not going to happen, which is why I didn't want the New York Jets to go out and spend a lot to go out and get Chandler Jones, the strong edge rusher that's there in Arizona that wants out. Arizona won't trade him. He wants a new contract. He's all over the place. Number one, I did not want him in our locker room. Number two, I did not want him to be with the young guys. And number three, we would have to give up a lot for a guy that all we really needed is a one-year solution. So I'm glad that the Jets took the route that they did, going out and getting Shaq Lawson. And I get it. Shaq Lawson has not been what we expected him to be coming out of Clemson. Coming out of Clemson, I had big things for Shaq Lawson. I remember watching him at Clemson, big games, Alabama, those big games against those big teams, college football playoff, Dabo Swinney, under that Brett Venables defense. That was he was one of the best edge rushers, one of the better players going into that draft. He got picked, first round to the Buffalo Bills, and he has not been what, NFL fans, I myself have expected out of him. He's not the same. Now, has he been bad? Has he been awful? No, he's been okay. He's had moments. He's had, he's kind of his role from going as a sack machine, stopping the run has kind of changed. He more gets to the quarterback, gets pressures. He can still stop the run. His role's kind of changed a little bit than when what he was in Clemson. It's kind of changed a little bit, now that he's in the NFL. And that's okay. That happens a lot. But like I said, I didn't want the Jets to go out and trade for a guy, spend the tons on a guy, give up a third round pick, a second round pick, and maybe a player for Chandler Jones for a guy that's just going to be a 1-year solution. So that's why I like this deal here, going out, getting Shaq Lawson, getting a guy that's getting a guy that's probably just a 1-year solution. Sure, we might keep him, and, he might be, depth down the road. Now, if he has a great year this year, explodes onto the scene, well, okay, now you got yourself an interesting situation. But as long as he can give us, decent production and solid production and depth is all we're asking for. Because, like I said, when Carl Lawson went down, there's not going to be anyone that's going to replace Carl Lawson in terms of putting up the exact production that he was going to put up. What he was doing at training camp, what he was doing so far in the New York Jets system, that 4-3 scheme that Robert Saleh is bringing over from San Francisco, he was going to turn into one of the best pass rushers in the league, I believe. And so you're not going to get someone that's going to exactly do that. But like I said, I like it because it's depth. And when you lose, that's an issue. That's how sports fans are sometimes. Is when you lose one of your top players. In this case, it's Carl Lawson. Whether that's in baseball, basketball, hockey, or football. When you lose one of your top players, people are so quick to the punch of, we got to get a solution right now. We got to get someone that's going to be able to, do what he was. No. That's not let's just say your best player on your team goes down. Sure, you're going to need someone else to try and fill in his shoes, but, are you going to need to go out and try to find someone that's going to do exactly what he was going to do? No, that's so hard to do. Same thing here with the Jets. So everyone's saying, go out and get Chandler Jones. Sign Olivier Vernon. Sign this guy. No, don't do that. All we needed was a guy like a Shaq Lawson, who, when he gets his opportunity, he'll do his job. He's not going to light you up. He's not going to be an electrifying player on the field, but he'll do his job, and he'll be a depth addition. He's not going to put up 15 sacks this season. He's not going to win Defensive Player of the Year. He's not going to be a top 10 player on the NFL's top 100 next season. And that's at least what I think. Sure, I would love for him to go out and prove us wrong, but he's not going to even get that role. Now, is he a starter? I definitely could see that, but he's probably going to get more split time with Bryce Huff, Ronnie Blair, and then Shaq Lawson. They'll probably all rotate in there. Remember, different packages, different teams. Another thing I do like about this is Shaq Lawson's played with the Bills and Dolphins already. So all he's got to do is go sign with the Patriots, and he'll sign with the full AFC East. So he kind of knows how those other teams work on defense. He kind of knows what those other teams do. He could give some of that insight to us, help us out, in terms of scouting and, what those other teams like to do in certain situations. So you're getting a guy, too, with a lot of knowledge for the game. But I think, for me, what gets me with this deal, it's not the fact that it's, that we found a solution and it's Shaq Lawson and coming from a big college in Clemson, and he's had moments throughout his career here, his young career. It's not that. The fact, what I like most about this deal is the fact that we gave up a 6th round pick that we got in return from the Jordan Willis deal that we made last season with the Niners. So, 6th round pick. We gave up a 6th round pick. That's something that's great. Considering, you needed, if you go out and get Chandler Jones, you're going to need to give up a whole lot more. You're going to need to give up way more picks, probably a player or two, and you're going to need to give up a lot more. Here, we only give up a 6th for Shaq Lawson. So I really like this. I do. Gives us depth, and depth's been a big thing for the New York Jets when talking about their defense. But with, Carl Lawson going down and Vinny Curry being done for the season, it's one of those things where you kind of look at it and you say, well, depth now is a little bit of it's not as strong as it was. And we gain here in Carl Lawson, or in Shaq Lawson. If you look at Shaq Lawson here, if you look at Shaq Lawson's stats here, like I said, he's not going to light you up. But, he's not going to light you up. Now, like I said, this season, he never played an actual game with the Texans. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. He's played 5 seasons in the league. This is his 6th. 4 with Buffalo, 1 with Miami. He really broke out in 2019 with the Bills. He had 32 tackles, 11 assists, and 6.5 sacks. But other than that, he's been a solid asset. And last season, he was actually solid for Miami. He had a couple really nice games. But like I said, never busted out onto the scene. That's kind of it. In his career, he has 20.5 sacks. Not that sacks mean everything, but he is more the sack type guy, if you're going to talk about stats with him. And drafted 1st round, 19th overall. 140 total tackles in his career, 6 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, 11 pass defenses, and 1 defensive touchdown. So those are just some of his stats. He's not going to light you up, but he's going to be quick around the edge. He's pretty fast. He's almost what Carl Lawson does. He's like a poor man's Carl Lawson in a way. He does get around the edge a lot. He'll definitely get to the quarterback, and he stops the run. He's actually very good at stopping the run. Something that he is strength, kind of a little bit of a strength is. It's just a good depth addition. Because the Jets need depth. I am genuinely surprised that we went out and traded for someone. Not that I don't trust Joe Douglas, but I thought for sure Douglas would have, and I would have been okay with this. I thought for sure Douglas would have just said, you know what? It's not, I don't want to give something up, or I just believe, who the guys in that room that we have, we trust them enough. That's kind of what I was expecting, but, if you only give up a 6th, it's pretty much just like, you're pretty much not even giving anything up. I mean, let's be honest here. What's a 6th round pick going to turn into? Not much. So, good move for the Jets. And he's bounced around. So, he's been around the league. So, he does he's been, even though he's his only sixth year in the NFL, this is already his fourth team in 6 years. 4 with Buffalo, then 1 with Miami, and then this season with Texans and now with the Jets. That's how crazy your career can change. He went from first 4 years of his career being with Buffalo. Then he got traded to Miami, and that's okay. All right, 5th year. Then going to Houston, and now to the Jets. So he played with 2 teams in his first 5 years of his career to being on 2 teams before week 1 of this NFL season. That's how sports are, people. Isn't that crazy? Bills for the first 4, Dolphins last season. So 5 teams in his first 2 years. 2 teams in his first 5 years of his career. To now going from 2 teams to going 2 teams this offseason before they even start the season. He was with the Texans, and now he's with the Jets. Two teams this offseason. So he went from 2 teams to now being 4 teams. This is his 6th year. So he's been around the league a little bit. Bills, Dolphins, Texans, now Jets. 3 AFC teams. 3 AFC East teams. He needs to, all 4 of the AFC. 3 AFC East teams. He needs to go to the Patriots now to complete the AFC East. Which I don't know if that will ever happen, but that is something to just say. So Shaq Lawson go to the New York Jets. I find it funny. Things you know how sports are. You watch a player in college, and then you don't get them, and then you end up after a while you end up getting them. That's how Shaq Lawson is. Like, I watched him in college. He was really good. And then, I never really thought of him going to the Jets, and now he's on the New York Jets. Now, the hype isn't as much as it was when he coming out of college with him, but still, you get Shaq Lawson. That's the only thing. He has talent. It's just a matter of trying to put it on full display in the NFL. So, Shaq Lawson reportedly traded the Jets from Texans for 2022 6th-round NFL draft pick. Shaq Lawson is headed back to the AFC East. The Houston Texans agreed to trade Lawson to the New York Jets on Sunday, receiving a 2022 6th-round pick in return, per Brian Costello of the New York Post. The Texans initially acquired Lawson in a March trade with the Miami Dolphins. The Jets are the 3rd AFC East team to employ Lawson, joining the Bills and Dolphins. Lawson is set to earn a $1.4 million base salary for the 2021 season, making him something of a bargain as a 1-year rental. The Jets could move on after this season and avoid paying him his $8.9 million base salary for 2022 or get a good pass rusher at a below market value. Lawson, a 2016 first-round pick, has never quite lived up to his billing despite obvious physical gifts. He failed to surpass 6.5 sacks for 33 tackles in a season. He's failed to surpass, in a season. Pro Football Focus has nevertheless given more complimentary than his counting stats, given Lawson grades at least 65 each of the last 4 seasons. Texans are in the midst of a teardown rebuild and likely value a 6th-round pick more than a veteran edge rusher. So that was a quick article there. Like I said, not going to be a crazy long article. But that, I always say this about players. Anytime you go out and get somebody and what they were, and you haven't seen that, and you're like, hey, if we could just somehow get this. I've said it with Corey Kluber with the Yankees. I said going into this year, if Corey Kluber can give us any type of production that's not, I'm not talking about production like what he did with his Cy Young. But I said if Corey Kluber going into this year could give us anything close to what he looked like in Cleveland, that would be awesome. And that was great. That was awesome. That would have been great. I would say he's through a no-hitter. I would say he's done great. Solid here. We'll see him tonight again, coming off the IL. I said that. Who else is another guy? You could just think of anyone. You could say maybe, the Panthers with Darnold, maybe, saying if he could at least show us like what he was coming out of college, if he could at least do that in a similar way, we'll be happy. Anything like that. You go even to Cam Newton. I'm just throwing names out there. I'm not, it might sound like I'm getting off topic, but I'm not. Cam Newton, if he could at least do a little bit, show a little bit of what he did in Carolina with the Patriots, they'll be happy. Same thing here with Shaq Lawson. Like, if Shaq Lawson could just turn into, at least a little bit what he did in Clemson. If he could do that now with the Jets, that would be awesome. And, that would be great. Because he hasn't done what he did in Clemson yet in the NFL. There's still time. It's not like he's in his 10th year, but the clock is ticking. So if Carl Lawson, maybe he's in this defense and it's big time, it helps, maybe that. But if somehow, some way, he could just do what he did in Clemson and do a little bit of that this year, that would be huge. And you could say that about any team he's joined. I'm sure the Bills were happy when they got him. I'm sure Miami was saying that too. I'm sure Texans fans this season were saying that. And now Jet fans are saying it. If he could do a little bit of what he did in Clemson and bring that over here, that would be big. And, maybe you see a lot of times guys, they break out on a new team. Maybe he does. Maybe, he goes from being this average guy to breaking out and being a really good player. So we'll see. But let's look at some of the more advanced numbers here. We get to, some of the tackles here. Let's get the Shaq Lawson here. Some more of his advanced numbers. So last season, he had 17 tackles, 4 sacks, and a forced fumble. He does force turnovers. That is one thing that I will say he does. He forces a lot of turnovers. 6 turnovers or 6 forced fumbles in his career. And this is his 6th season. So he forces a lot of fumbles and turnovers. That's about 1 every year, which is actually pretty good to have a ratio of above 1, of more than 1 forced fumble a season. I mean, you look at some of the premium pass rushers in the league, and forcing fumbles is not their biggest thing. Not comparing Shaq Lawson to Aaron Donald. I'm not. But let's just see Aaron Donald. I just want to see. I'm not comparing him to Aaron Donald. I just want to see what Aaron Donald did. Last season, Aaron Donald had 4 forced fumbles. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. He's had 19 in his... Okay, well, Aaron Donald's a different level. I probably should not be Google. I should probably not be looking up Aaron Donald and seeing that. T.J. Watt, let's see what he's capable of with the forced fumbles. I don't know. For some reason, I calculated it yesterday because I calculate stats and stuff. 2 forced fumbles last season. Okay, he's had 17. Jeez, he's had 17 in 4 years, including 8 in 2019. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. When I looked at that number... Maybe it's because I'm so used to looking at, safeties and stuff like that and their forced fumbles. But when I looked at it and I saw 6 and I saw a ratio of having more of over 1 forced fumble a season, I thought that was pretty good for a guy that's... Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I am looking at, T.J. Watt and Aaron Donald. You can make the argument the 2 best pass rushers in the league numbers. Maybe if you look at someone else more average, maybe that would be different. But I thought, averaging about over 1 turnover, forced in a season is pretty good, for a guy that, really has not lived up to expectations of what he did in Clemson completely. And I could show you some of the stats that he put up in Clemson. I mean, they're pretty cool. They're pretty special. Especially his 2015 season at Clemson. He had 12.5 sacks, 58 tackles, 12.5 sacks. He had a big year that year. What's funny here is he's never... So this is pretty crazy. This just what goes to show you that's crazy. He never forced a fumble or interception in his career with Clemson. He also never had a pass defended in his career at Clemson. In the NFL, on the other hand, that's completely different. He's had 12 defensive passes defended, and he's had 6 forced fumbles. In his 3 years at Clemson, he did not have one of those. So... I guess if you're looking at Shaq Lawson's numbers, I guess it's a little 50-50. The sacks and, maybe the tackles and stuff aren't there what he did at Clemson, but the forcing the fumbles, getting turnovers, and pass defenses are here more in the NFL. So, I guess it's a little bit of 50-50. But we'll see. Like I said, if he could just show a little bit of what he did, getting to the quarterback and the way he did that at Clemson, if he could just show some of that here, if you're a New York Jet fan, you got to take that. You got to take it and run with it. If he does what he did in the NFL, which is probably the expectation, then he's going to be an average pass rusher. But he's a depth addition. I like the move a lot because we only gave up a 6th. This guy still has a lot of... the talent's there. It's just a matter of, can he put it fully onto the table? These are the type of players that, might never happen, but these are the guys that have a talent to be primed for a breakout season. It's just a matter of time and a matter of getting lucky. And maybe we get lucky here. And maybe we give up a 6th round pick. And Shaq Lawson turns into what we all expected him to turn into as the 19th overall pick in the 2015 draft. Maybe that's what we expect. We'll see how it all plays out, though. So, Shaq Lawson going to the New York Jets. Solid move. Gives us depth. And, the New York Jets hold their edge. Gets sealed up right now. Very well, middle of the year. How the season plays out, we'll see how it all goes. But right now, Jets have found their replacement for Carl Lawson at the moment. Shouldn't say replacement, but we have found the substitute. Because once Carl Lawson goes back to the season, it'll look a lot different. But we lose Carl Lawson, and we lose a Lawson, and we also gain a Lawson. Shaq Lawson heads to New York Jets. Also, he's only 27 years old. He's still a young guy. Still young. So he's got time to grow. We'll see how it plays out. Shaq Lawson to the New York Jets. Alrighty, another NFL news coming up here. A lot of news. A lot of NFL news. As we get closer and closer to the season and roster cuts are made, a lot of news. Coming up next here, though, I wanted to get into J.K. Dobbins is done for the season. Yes, you have heard that right. Ravens J.K. Dobbins is done for the season. Torn ACL. He is done. I'll get to that, how it impacts the Ravens, and where do the Ravens go from here with their running back. We'll get to that coming up next. All right, so we'll be back here. Well, a lot going on in the NFL. I'll tell you that for sure. As the season creeps closer, we all know there's roster cuts that go on, and that's not here with Dobbins, but let me just read you the schedule. By the way, Fitzpatrick got named quarterback 1 in Washington, and he'll be starting. T.Y. Hilton's going to miss multiple weeks. Dobbins tore ACL. Shaq Lawson gets traded to Jets. Harrison Smith gets an Omega deal. Patriots still haven't named a quarterback. A lot going on. A ton. Tons going on. But this right here is like the best time before the NFL season is when you have roster cuts. That's why I make my predictions after the roster cuts, because you can't sit here and say, oh, they'll win this many games when you don't even know who's going to be on the roster. Now, let's be honest, Tom Brady's not going to get cut. But there are some guys that might be on the roster bubble that you might think could be on the roster and they get cut. Some surprising cuts. There has been cuts over the years that have been really surprising. For not just because maybe they weren't performing well, but also contract and old and age and all that stuff correlates into it. But today, before I get to Dobbins and all that stuff, so this is just the week ahead. This is how crazy upcoming it is in NFL season. And for GMs and coaches and teams to get ready for the season. So the week ahead. All teams must reduce their initial 53-man rosters by Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So tomorrow at 4 Eastern, all rosters have to be complete. 53-man rosters have to be set in place, and they got to be ready to roll. So today, roster's still big. Maybe they'll make some final cuts. If for whatever it's worth today, they'll get another practice. If a player wants to show himself more and see what he's capable of, we'll see. All players waived can be claimed by Wednesday at noon Eastern. So if you get cut, that doesn't mean you're done for the season. It just means you're not playing with that team. Once you clear waivers, you can be claimed. 16-man practice squads then can be formed. So after they cut, you either get cut or you get assigned to the practice squad. So if you get pulled into the meeting room with the coach, your hope probably is to get assigned to the... Well, I don't know. Do you get cut and hope that you can get an opportunity with another team, or do you get cut and go to the practice squad? I don't know. I would rather just make the roster. So then that happens in 11 days until we play football. So the upcoming 3-4 days here are going to be wild. And then next week's going to be even more wild. Because number one, you're going to have games. Thursday is going to be the game. Then you're going to have, games over the weekend. Like, the NFL season, people, it fully hasn't hit me. But it's here. It's here. Preseason's done. Forget about preseason. It's over. It's done. The season's upon us. 11 days until we play NFL football. That will be the Buccaneers-Cowboys starting it off. So that's just what's ahead in the NFL. I was going to do my roster predictions. It's just so much. There's some guys, there's some people on the roster that I've never even heard of, not on the Jets roster. I'm saying that it could be on the roster bubble. They're just practice squad players. I'm not going to sit here and do notes on the practice squad. Let's see who's going to make the practice squad. Who cares? Oh, great, you're on the practice squad. Good. You'll get called up for a game and not play. There is questions, though, about the New York Jets of who's going to be their backup quarterback. Josh Johnson, James Morgan, and Mike White. I probably tend to assume it's going to be Mike White. They'll probably carry one quarterback on the roster, on the 53-man. Or carry two quarterbacks, one backup, and then have one on the practice squad, and then they'll cut one. So they're going to have to make a decision. You either cut Morgan, White, or Johnson. White's probably going to be the backup behind Wilson. So then you got to figure out who's going to be on the practice squad and who's going to get cut. Someone's going to get cut. So that's the decision that Jets are going to have to look out for. All right, so with all that being said, I just wanted to say that just to go show you how crazy of a week it is coming up here in the NFL. But Ravens, J.K. Dobbins out for season after knee injury, diagnosed as torn ACL. So, yeah, you've heard that. Terrible news coming from the Baltimore Ravens. And this goes back to my point all the time I say this. And it gets frustrating, the more and more times we see guys go down with injuries. J.K. Dobbins is just another victim of going down with an injury in preseason. Preseason means absolutely nothing. I know for some guys trying to make roster spots means something, but let's be honest here. Even if you make the roster, you're probably not going to do anything. Probably just going to sit the bench. I've always said this about preseason in the NFL. It's just useless. I've always thought that they should have took the 4 preseason games and extended them into 4 regular season games. And that's what I've always thought. I've always said that. I've always thought that should have been the case. They did extend a week this year to the NFL season, took away a preseason game, but no, that doesn't make sense. That's great. I like that, but still 3 preseason games. So many injuries, and injuries in training camp, and there's only so much you could do, right? It's I'm not going to sit here and be that guy that's going to say, I'm not going to sit here and say, why are they practicing while they're... No, I'm not going to do that. You need to practice, injuries happen, but it does stink when it's in preseason. It does stink when it's in games that mean nothing, week 5 of the NFL season. We're not going to be sitting here and saying, remember that game that Dobbins played against, I believe it was Washington in the preseason? Remember that game? That was such a good game. Yeah, because the preseason means everything. Because the preseason is really big. Those are must-win games. Those are games you need to win. And yet again, we see another injury. And, last season we saw a ton of injuries in the preseason. And it's this year we saw more. The Jets you saw with Shaq Lawson. It didn't happen in a game, but happened at joint practice. It was a freak injury, torn Achilles. He's done for the year. You saw with Cam Akers before the training camp even started. Was just training, freak injury, torn Achilles, done for the year. Now Dobbins, torn ACL, done for the year. So this is a huge loss for the Ravens. This isn't just a big loss. This is a massive loss. And, I know Dobbins last season started off the year, it was him and wasn't it Melvin Ingram? Or Ingram? I don't know. I thought it was them two splitting time. And then they got rid of him. And then they had Dobbins as their full-time back. And I know they've had some other guys in there as well, but Dobbins is the guy there. Dobbins was gonna be the starter. And if you look at Dobbins down the stretch of the season, the last 5 games of the season for J.K. Dobbins was amazing. You look at his fantasy numbers, which, by the way, his fantasy value goes way down now. And if you got him in fantasy, you better have depth at your running back, because that's a big loss. That's something I wanted to say too, and I'll get to that in a second. But it's last season, 5 weeks, in the season, he was kind of splitting time to start last year. It was kind of like a 50-50. And then, the last 5-6 games of the season, he really turned it up. And he really started to play well. And, we really got to see what Dobbins was capable of. We really got to see how he could impact and how he could help that Baltimore Ravens team. We really got to see that on display last season through those final 5 games. And he showed a lot of talent. He showed a lot of potential. He's got a lot of talent. And it stinks that this is something that's happening in his second year. It reminds a little bit of Barkley. Someone who's got so much talent, someone who's got a lot of, a bright future, and, just injuries are getting in the way of, are getting in the way of his career. I mean, if you think about it, this is a year of his career that's going to be done. Injuries are getting in the way of, his career, and injuries are getting in the way of him trying to go out and be one of the better running backs in the league. And he showed that last season when he got that extending playing time. And you look at fantasy here, it's a big loss in fantasy. I'm not going to sit here and say that a lot today, but I'm not going to sit here and everyone always talks about doing your drafts early and stuff. I don't have it in fantasy, luckily. I know a lot of people do, but if you got him in fantasy, you better have depth, because that's going to be one of those things that's going to be, fantasy, it's going to be one of those things that's just going to be, with fantasy, it's going to be a rotating spot this year. You're probably not going to be able to find a constant solution there in fantasy, but it's going to be probably a rotating spot. So it'll be a rotating spot, and it's going to probably be like a rotating spot in fantasy if you got him. So in fantasy now, he's done for the year, obviously. Dobbins' knee will miss the entire 2021 season after MRI conducted Sunday confirmed that the running back sustained a torn ACL. Adam Schefter of ESPN reports. So he's done. Crazy. He is now rostered in 64.4% of leagues. Minus 32.5. So 32.5% of leagues now have all dropped him. It's just his numbers are rapidly declining. And I talked about the final 5-6 weeks of the season. Look at this. 15 carries, 70 yards, touchdown. 11 carries, 71 yards, touchdown. 13 carries, 53 yards, touchdown. 14 carries, 64 yards, touchdown. 11 carries, 77 yards, touchdown. 13 carries, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight weeks where he had a touchdown. Final week of the season, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns. So through the final 6 weeks of the season, he really turned it up. Touchdown each of those weeks. A lot of yards. And especially against that last week against Cincinnati where he had 160 yards and 2 touchdowns. So a big, big reason and a big help to the success last season for the for Dobbins and the Ravens. And it's a big loss. And it's a big loss for the NFL too. I mean, I was excited to see what he could do this year. I was really excited to see, what he could do. I was excited to see, if he could have another big year. Definitely a guy that I did look at in fantasy. I'm glad I didn't draft him. But, these are guys that, people in the NFL like to watch and like to see, and he's done for the year now. And where do the Ravens go from here at running back? You got to wonder. They said that they're not going to look for Gurley. I would not look for Gurley. If anything, I would probably just take it slow and, use the depth that you got, show the belief in that room. Maybe they do with Jets, and maybe they go out and, get a smaller name running back. Maybe they go out and get a veteran. Maybe they go out and get a guy like an Adrian Peterson or somebody, and, go from there. But, I don't think they're not gonna go out and get Le'Veon Bell. Probably won't. I mean, maybe they do, but I could see them kind of staying put at what they got in that room, because they do have, they do got Gus Edwards. I believe they got some guys in that room. It's not like it's J.K. Dobbins and nobody. I mean, let's be honest. Last season, for the first couple of weeks of the season, it was splitting time throughout that running back group, and then Dobbins kind of took over because he was the most surprising for such a run-heavy team. It was going to be a big year for Dobbins. So terrible. It stinks to see it. Ravens J.K. Dobbins out for a season after knee injury. Diagnosis torn ACL. Baltimore Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins will miss the entire 2021 NFL season after suffering a torn ACL, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. Schefter confirmed the Ravens' fears Sunday after Dobbins was injured during Baltimore's preseason win over Washington football team on Saturday. By the way, the Ravens have a very weird streak going on where it's they have 20 straight preseason wins. They win all the preseason games. Super weird. Which I guess it's interesting because you get the injuries, but they're winning in the preseason. But yeah, they got a lot of preseason wins, so they do win in the preseason. Mike Garafolo of NFL Network reported Dobbins will undergo more evaluations as the MRI revealed possible LCL damage. Garafolo noted it wouldn't be a huge deal if that is confirmed, but would make for a more involved recovery. The second-year pro out of Ohio State crumbled to the turf and grabbed his knee after getting caught between three players on a screen pass and took a shoulder directly to the joint. The ugly scene left the tailback carted off the field, and Baltimore hoping for the best while awaiting test results Sunday. Dobbins' importance to the Ravens' offense can't be understated. After posting the best rushing offense in the league last season, 191.9 yards per game, with Dobbins contributing 805 yards over 134 carries and 9 touchdowns to that effort, the 22-year-old was expected to play an even bigger role this year, sharing lead back duties with Gus Edwards. The plan is on hold for this season while Dobbins recuperates. In the meantime, look for backups Justice Hill and Tyson Williams to pick up some more rushing attempts behind Edwards. There maybe even be more designed runs for quarterback Lamar Jackson to make up for the loss. Without Dobbins, however, the run game loses a powerful weapon set to take a step forward in the follow-up to his rookie year. Baltimore opens the regular season September 13th on Monday Night Football against the Las Vegas Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. Kickoff is slated for 8:15 p.m. Eastern on ABC or on ESPN and ABC. So, like I said, I mean that says it all. He had a really big year last season. He was going to be a big part. I said a run-heavy team. This is a run-heavy team. They run the ball a lot. They utilize their running backs. They utilize their quarterback and his legs. And Lamar Jackson, we all know how good of a runner he is. So it really does. It's a big loss. It's a huge, huge loss for J.K. Dobbins and for the Ravens. Now, they do have Gus Edwards, who, when he's in there, he does his job. Is he going to do what J.K. Dobbins was going to do? Probably not. But Gus Edwards is in there. He's got experience. So you probably go with Gus Edwards. I know everyone always likes to just jump to the conclusion of, let's go out and get a running back. Or, something like that. I know everyone always likes to do that. But I've always been on the side, I even said this with the Jets a little bit with the edge rusher. Like, if you got guys in your room that you believe in, there's no need to go out and, try and, sign this guy and that guy and trade for this guy and do that and do this and just to get a guy that's going to replace him for 1 year. I mean, let's be honest here. J.K. Dobbins, when he comes back next season, he'll be ready for next year too. This is the one positive about his injury, getting in now. I'd rather, if you're a Raven fan, you'd rather him get it now than get it week 4 of the NFL season where, he'll miss half of next year as well. He'll be ready for next season, which is a positive. Said that about Lawson. I'll say it here about Dobbins. Since it happened before the season, the recovery is about a year, so he'll be ready before the season starts. But you're without Dobbins now. So the Ravens got to figure out, there could be more design runs for Lamar Jackson. But I like I said, and that's why I like what the Jets did. They gave up a 6th-round pick. I don't think the Ravens should go out there and go get anyone big time because they got a lot of good running backs. Quarterback's the best rushing quarterback in the league. Gus Edwards has got some bursts. He's definitely showed some moments. He split time last season with Dobbins. So definitely a good opportunity for some of these other guys to step up and see what they're capable of. Definitely a big opportunity here for the Ravens and, some of these other guys to step up. And I said that about the Jets. I'll say it here with the Ravens, right? An opportunity for some of these other guys to step up. And I don't think they make a change. I mean, they got a good running back room there. And, once Dobbins comes back next year, they'll be in a good position. So, J.K. Dobbins tears ACL done for season. Hey, look here. Baltimore unlikely to pursue Todd Gurley. So, Ravens like their running back depth despite J.K. Dobbins' injury and aren't expected to pursue Todd Gurley. No, is that surprising? Not really. So they're not expected to call Gurley. Do you go Todd Gurley, Adrian Peterson, Le'Veon Bell, Frank Gore? No. They're not expected to pursue Todd Gurley. Probably won't get Le'Veon Bell either, because Le'Veon Bell has even said recently too that he's not going to play until the time comes right. So that'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see even what he does. It'll be interesting to see what the Ravens do, or even say Le'Veon Bell. Speaking of, going out and get running backs. But anyway, that's what I got for J.K. Dobbins and him tearing ACL. Big loss there, and it does have fantasy implications on it as well. Because if you have him in fantasy, that's a big loss. Alrighty, so let's get to the MLB and all that good stuff. By the way, preseason, like I said, is over. We could get to that. Preseason week 3, Jets tied 31-31 on the crazy last-second Hail Mary by James Morgan. That was pretty crazy, and the Giants lost yesterday 22-0, so they're 0-3 in the preseason. They did not win a single preseason game. Not that means anything, but they couldn't get the job done. All right, so let's get to baseball here first, and then we'll get to fantasy baseball. Indians won yesterday, Rockies won, Mariners won, Rangers won, White Sox won, Brewers won, Braves won, Phillies won, Blue Jays won, Rays won, Pirates won, Marlins won. And the Mets won as well, 9-4. Mets moved to 63 and 67 on the season. Yankees lost yesterday 3-1. Yankees moved to 76 and 54 on the season. I would like to say the first, okay? A lot of Yankee fans out there stressing out. Oh, we lost 2 straight games. Oh, we're back to our old selves. Everybody just needs to calm down, okay? It's, you can't expect a team to win every single game. You can't. I mean, come on. Like, oh, Yankees, need to get going, or need to get going. We won 13 straight. Like, everyone just got to calm down. Everyone's just got to calm down. It's a 2-game losing streak. Oh, wow. We lost two straight games. Oh, no. Like, people, we just got off of a 13-game win streak. Now we're on a 2-game losing streak. Oh, no. Season's over. Like, everybody just needs to calm down. Too many Yankee fans are like, oh, where do we go from here? Back to the old Yankees. Back to the old... What, so we're not allowed to lose now? We have to win every single game? Like, people don't understand sports. They just don't. They don't understand the fact that you win and lose. You win some, you lose some. And I know I'm not sitting here and saying that I'm happy they lost. I'm just saying, like, people are very, a lot of people are like, oh, Yankees lose and this and that, and oh, this stinks, this is awful. But it's like, you lost 2 in a row. It's not the end of the world. It's just, too many people are... That's how Yankee fans are. I've always said this. Yankees have one of the worst fan bases in terms of, actually using knowledge to your advantage. People don't make sense. Oh, get rid of this guy. Fire this guy. Do this guy. Like, didn't make... What? Like, fire Boone. Okay, what was firing Boone going to do for us? Boone has nothing to do with the... Boone can't go up there and hit for these guys. Like, or this. Or, oh, Gio should not be playing. Or Rizzo should be benched. Like, what? Yeah, not loyal fans. It's fake fans. It's fans that when things are going great, everything's awesome. And when things are going bad, it's, oh, bench this guy, fire this guy, and get rid of this guy. Fake fans. Yankees, one of the worst fan bases in the world. I've always said that. I'll go on the record here and say that. Even though I'm a Yankee fan, I've always said this. Out of all the sports teams, Yankees' worst fan base. In terms of just knowledge, in terms of not knowing what they're doing, not siding with the team, always being against this team, always being negative. Like, gosh, you can't expect the team to win every single game. All right, so let's get to the MLB here. Today we got the Twins, Tigers. I'll give Twins the win. Reds, Cardinals, give Reds the win. Phillies, Nationals, give Phillies the win. Blue Jays, Orioles, give Blue Jays the win. Rays, Red Sox, give Rays the win. Rockies, Rangers, give Rockies the win. Padres, Diamondbacks, give Padres the win. Brewers, Giants, give Brewers the win. And Cheaters, Mariners, give Cheaters the win. And Dodgers, Braves, give Dodgers the win. Alright, so let's get to the Yankees. Yankees come in this game 76 and 54. Angels come in this game 64 and 67. This game goes on today, 9:38 p.m. Eastern Time. Find this game on Bally Sports West, and you can also find it on Yes Network. Yankees got Corey Kluber on the mound. He's 4-3 with a 3.04 ERA, and the over-under for this game is set as 9. Angels have not yet announced their starter. So Kluber's on the mound. I'm going to give the Yankees the win anyway. I don't know the percentages of people who think going to win because the other pitcher's not out for the other team. So we'll see who pitches there for the Angels. Alrighty, so let's get to fantasy baseball. I lost last week. Let's see here. I lost 385 to 327, so final meeting of the season. Final matchup of the season, of the regular season, then we'll head into playoffs. And today I've got going Will Smith, Jake Cronenworth, Gene Segura, Alex Bregman, Marcus Semien, Carlos Correa, Austin Riley, Christian Yelich, Austin Meadows, Dylan Carlson, Avisail Garcia, AJ Pollock, and Luke Voigt. By the way, I moved to 11-9 on the season, and right now I am currently the 5 seed. So it doesn't look like I'm not. If I win this game, actually, if I lose, this is actually a big game. This is actually a big series, because if I lose this game, I could be the 6th seed then. Never mind. I still have a chance, I think, to get in. I don't have a chance to get in as a 4 seed. I don't anymore. That's all out of the equation. I guess there's still a possibility I could get a 6 seed, though. So I should probably just win this game. And we'll see how everything else goes. Alright, and then I made so I made a move yesterday. So yesterday I added Chris Archer and dropped Nestor Cortez. Since Chris Archer was playing against the Orioles, he got me 9 points, did his job, and I dropped to Chris Archer today. So Chris Archer I dropped. I feel like it's setting guys up. I called up a guy and I drop him. That's kind of how it is. But yeah. So right now today I got Luis Garcia on the mound as well for fantasy. He's going up against Oakland today, or Seattle rather. So I dropped Chris Archer. I don't know if I'm going to pick up another pitcher today or if I'm going to wait. No one out on the mark. No one out really catches my eye. I usually like to get a solid pitcher going up against a bad team, but no one else is really doing it. Like, I could go Johnny Cueto, but he's going against Milwaukee. I could go, Josiah Gray. He's been good recently, but he's going up against Philadelphia. You even go down to Drew Smyly going up against the Dodgers, and I do like Tyler Gilbert. He threw the no-hitter, but there's some guys out here you could say Tariq Skubal I could pick up. He's been good recently. I actually had him a little bit for a game, but he pitches tomorrow. So I think I might just stick with the one pitcher today, not pick another guy up. Don't risk someone getting minus points. Maybe I will, maybe I'm not. Watch, I'll say this, and then tomorrow I'll say, I picked this guy up. I don't know. Still kind of up in the air, but we'll see how it all goes. It's still kind of up in the air, but we'll see. I do hope that I can get somebody though. Tariq Skubal, I believe, like Eric Lawyer, he pitches Thursday. I actually like Eric Lawyer a lot. He's been good for me. Every time I pick him up, he's done his job. So we'll see how it all goes. We'll see. But I could pick up Tariq Skubal for tomorrow, but who even knows if he'll go? He's gonna pitch tomorrow, but I'm not sure even what team they play. So they play Minnesota. So maybe I'll actually pick him up for tomorrow, but we'll see. There's so many decisions because you gotta realize starting pitching in fantasy baseball, it's big. It could very well decide a matchup for you. That whole Chris Archer thing yesterday was like a desperation move. Like, I made the move. I was like, let's pick up Chris Archer, and didn't. He got me 9 points, but not that I was expecting to go out there and throw a perfect game. Although how the season's gone with all the no hitters, nothing would surprise me at this point. But he did his job. But I expected against the Orioles, going against the Orioles and a bad team. I was hoping for him to do something, but he didn't really do anything. So, but yeah. So, big week in fantasy, and then fantasy baseball. Crazy. Fantasy baseball is already starting. And fantasy baseball is coming to an end, and fantasy football is starting up. I mean, that's That's wild. I mean, it really is pretty crazy how, like, I remember we were just talking about, I was just talking about fantasy baseball, first time playing it, and now we're already on to fantasy football, and fantasy baseball season is not really winding down, but as the old saying, it's just getting started now with the playoffs, but it's pretty crazy how it's already on the playoffs there. So, either way, that'll do it for the podcast today. Another good podcast in the books. A lot of good sports tonight. Yankees-Angels. Yankees try to get another win. Lost 2 straight over the weekend. Try to get back on the winning ways here today. But yeah, that'll do it. As always, I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.